Welcome to another episode of your Crypto Capsule Commentary, where I answer some of the questions that I get from all of you around the world and try to make it fun at the same time. Today we're going to answer some exciting questions that we got from the US, London, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. Hope you're ready. Here we go. So the first question, it's something I got, I think 20, 30 messages on it last night, especially from the US. The big question was, how important is the PayPal news in the broader crypto ecosystem? It's quite important. Let's face it, obviously, many people will say it's only for cryptocurrencies initially that PayPal is offering. It's only for the US right now. It's going to be offered internationally, but it's still a pretty big deal. I think we have to remember that, yes, there's other payment firms like Square, Robinhood who are doing this, but PayPal is by far the biggest one in the space. They have over 340 million clients, over 26 million merchants. They did over 200 billion in payment last quarter. So I think from that perspective, it's quite meaningful. I think the other thing to understand is actually PayPal was part of the initial group of the members of the Libra Association when it launched in June 2019. Obviously, it had to pull out in October of last year, but I think it's an interesting further initiative from PayPal in this space. I think why it matters because it actually becomes kind of another on-ramp for retail investors and people who want to access the crypto ecosystem. It's a very easy way of doing it, but also for merchants who can now kind of accept crypto payments without even ever touching crypto. So I think it's a very interesting development from that perspective. What I'm actually watching right now with this PayPal development is obviously, despite the fact that it's obviously had a big impact on the price of crypto and Bitcoin since the announcement, but also it's initially the 4 coins are offered are Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin, and there's no stable coin. And I think it would be interesting to see if down the line they add a stable coin to this mix, because technically you can then imagine payments can happen fully in a stable coin ecosystem, basically a completely new rail than the existing payment rail. So very, very interesting development to follow. Thank you for all the questions on this topic. Second question is from John from London. Henri, do you expect other payment firms to follow PayPal? The answer is yes. I think initially having crypto was nice to have. Now it's kind of becoming a must-have, especially after this announcement. But also there's very practical reasons. One of them, it's actually very profitable. If you look, for example, Square in their last announcement, they mentioned they made over 875 million in Bitcoin revenues because of the trading they offered. That was a 600% growth quarter on quarter. So I think that's something to bear in mind. And also, let's face it, there's actually quite interesting fees that will be embedded for anybody who's trying to buy crypto using PayPal. For example, it was reported that the fees for PayPal will be between 1.5 to 2.3%, which is quite interesting. So I think it's actually quite a revenue opportunity as well for a lot of these payment firms. The big development to watch here is really what's happening on the treasury side. As you guys may have seen, last week, Square announced that they're putting $50 million in Bitcoin on their treasury. MicroStrategy announced the same thing, but $250 million last month. So I think it's becoming interesting that a lot of companies are now putting Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation as part of the treasury. So I think all of this is becoming very interesting when it comes to payment firms. So thank you for your question, John. Third question is from Serge from Shanghai, my favorite cities in the world. The question is, Henri, will governments ban stablecoins when CBDCs are introduced? I think the short answer is no. First of all, Serge, I think that we still have a long way to go before CBDCs become mainstream. Despite the developments going on in Bahamas to China, I think we still have a long way to go before all we do is use CBDCs. Second, also, it really depends on what are the features of CBDCs, of central bank digital currencies, that we end up having. So I think there's a lot of things that we're still at a very early stage on that perspective. And frankly, I think the market will decide. I think at one point the market people will decide whether they rather hold a stable coin that is backed one-to-one by a service provider, or directly hold central bank, a third form of central bank money in the form of a CBDC. So I think we'll see what happens from that perspective. We still have a long way to go. The one thing I'll mention here is really the one thing I'm watching is the adoption of stablecoins. Right now, we have about 20 billion or so of assets in stablecoins globally. There's actually the trading on certain stablecoins is more than Bitcoin on a daily basis. There's a lot of activity in the space. So I'm really watching the adoption of stablecoins, the speed of adoption of stablecoins will have an impact on the development of CBDCs as well. So I think we have to watch them both at the same time. So very, very interesting developments going on. Thank you very much, Serge, for your question. And last but not least is Wieland from Hong Kong, where I'm right now. Henri, do you foresee regulations on tokenization/STO become similar to stock trading? Good question. The answer is probably yes. I think while there was a debate on whether Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, where do they fall, when it comes to tokenization and security tokens, it's pretty clear they're all a security, pretty much every jurisdiction you look around the world. So actually the big positive for that is actually makes it easier to regulate. There's already security laws and frameworks in most countries, so making it easy from that perspective compared to cryptocurrencies or even tokens like ICOs that we had a couple of years ago. I think the big area to watch here are NFTs, non-fungible tokens. With non-fungible tokens, I guess for many of your listeners, it's kind of an asset that we can prove only, that is unique on a blockchain. For example, a very popular one of that was the CryptoKitties that came out 2-3 years ago. And there's actually the entire NFT world, which is non-fungible token, is really booming right now. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how regulators approach NFTs and which bucket they try to fill it in, whether it's going to be in a security bucket or more in some of the new somewhere else. So I think that's the one angle I'm watching right now from that perspective. Again, guys, thank you very much for all the questions. I got a lot of personal questions actually. I would say 50% of the questions I'm getting are more personal. So I try to do an episode maybe next time where I share about some of the more personal questions that you guys are asking me. That's it for this week's, guys, and see you all next week with another Crypto Capsule Explainer Commentary. See you guys soon.